guys, welcome back. So today's video is going to be a review on the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte Foundation. This is the second review in a series I'm doing here on a bunch of drugstore foundations. I will link that playlist below of the other drugstore foundations I've already reviewed. I can let you know though that there's definitely like at least 4 or 5 more foundations coming your way. But today we're going to be talking about the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte Foundation. So welcome if you are new. Please subscribe. I upload videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. I would love to have you join me. Also follow me below on all my social media. I have all of the links for Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, Snapchat. All those things are listed in the description box below. And if you're loving this makeup look, I did just film a look. I posted it on Thursday for my Throwback Thursday eyeshadow palette series I'm also doing, where we're just loving everything that we already own. And so I will link this makeup look below. Here's what the packaging looks like on the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte Foundation. It is a squeeze tube. This foundation retails for $12.99 online, but I did buy mine at Walmart for $10.97. This is a 1 fluid ounce, which is your typical standard foundation size. This also comes in 22 different shades. I have the shade 102 Shell Beige. Now at Walmart they have about maybe 12 shades, maybe. But online, if you go to the L'Oreal website, I found that they have the full selection of shades. They also have a chart that will help you figure out what shade you even are. I'm going to tell you a few of the specs on this foundation, and then we're going to jump right on into the demo so you can see how this foundation applies to my skin. This foundation right on the packaging tells you it is up to 24-hour wear time. So what I appreciate about this packaging is on the back of it, it tells you the finish, the wear time, the coverage, and the texture. It gives you little bullet points. So when you're standing there in the store, you can pick up this foundation and see what exactly to expect from this foundation. So as far as the finish, it says it's going to give you a demi matte. The wear time up to 24 hours, as we already seen. The coverage is medium and the texture is very air light. Now those are the claims. Before we jump into the demo, I'm going to tell you real quick, I have a normal to combo skin type. I'm mainly normal. I do get a little greasy in the daytime, especially now that it's warming up down here. The humidity is rolling in, the temperatures are boosting, so my skin gets a little bit more oily throughout the course of the day now versus in the winter time. I think that's another thing to take into consideration when you're looking for a foundation is the time of year, where do you live, what is the temperature, and do you have humidity or not? Because all of those factors plus your skin type can affect the wear time and performance of a foundation. I put this foundation on about 9:30. I filmed another video and now I'm sitting down to film this video. So about 9:30 is when I initially applied the foundation. So I've already had it on for about an hour and a half or so. And I'm going to tell you my thoughts on this foundation. I'm also going to go and check in throughout the course of the day so you can see how the foundation is wearing. So let's jump right into the demo. I'm going to prime my face with the Pixie Rose Flash Balm. Feel free to use whatever primer that you have. I've been enjoying this as a primer just because it creates a nice lightweight base between my foundation. And it's not heavy, it's not silicone based, it's more of like a lotion, but it's also very hydrating. And because this is a long wear matte finish foundation, I need to make sure that my skin isn't dry, or a matte finish foundation will just emphasize any dryness or texture you have to your face. I have worn this foundation both with a primer and without a primer to really get a feel for how it performs. And yesterday I did not wear a primer and I got definitely more oily than I do with a primer. So I feel like the primer creates a nice barrier to keep my oils under control. Even though this isn't a mattifying primer, this doesn't claim to do any sort of oil control. I think just having that barrier between your skin's oils and the foundation just helped the foundation last so much longer. The packaging is nice. I like that it's a squeeze tube. If it doesn't have a pump, at least give me a squeeze tube. I don't like when you just open up a foundation and it can potentially spill everywhere. So what I usually do is I just kind of give a little squirt of this on the back of my hand. You can see the consistency of it there. It's really not a runny foundation. It's rather a whipped, lightweight texture. So I'm just going to start with the amount I showed you there on the back of my hand and apply that to my face. I use a beauty sponge to blend in most of my foundations. I sometimes reach for a brush, but I just find that overall I prefer a sponge. I like how it really pushes the product into your skin. I don't have to worry about brush marks. The beauty sponge absorbs a little bit of product, but I feel like a brush really does. A brush is really hard to clean. A beauty sponge is easy to clean. This is the Real Techniques one. I also love the regular Beauty Blender. Here is what one layer of that looks like. I'd say one layer gives about medium coverage. You definitely can still see my freckles through. You can see a couple of my little brown spots. I've deemed this a brown spot. It's not going away. It's getting larger. I don't know. So this is what one layer looks like. I do think I want to do a little bit more. As far as the color goes, I originally, when I bought this, thought it was going to be too dark. But it actually is a really good color match for me. I have this shade 202, or no, I have the shade 102 Shell Beige. So here is the second layer of foundation. You can see that the finish is, it's like a demi-matte, like it says. It's not completely flat. Like, I don't look like I have zero dimension to my face. I can still see a little bit of the sheen from my moisturizer peeping through. That's a strange word, but I'm thinking about peeps. It's Easter weekend here. And I like the finish of this a lot. Initially, it just doesn't look cakey or gross. I applied a bit of concealer today. I used the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Concealer, and I'm going to set my under eye concealer and a little bit of powder on the rest of my face. To do that, I'm going to use the Laura Mercier Translucent Setting Powder. I find that this really helps control my oil the most. Now, this foundation is a long-lasting foundation, and I've set this with powder just like I would set any other foundation and concealer with powder, because no matter what foundation I'm reviewing, I'm going to wear it with powder, so I'm going to test it with powder. I can tell you I have worn this without powder, and I definitely get oily with it, so I know that's going to happen. So I am purposely putting a little bit of powder just all over my face. I'm not using very much. I like to just use a tiny little bit, a very tiny amount of powder, because if I need to blot later or add a little powder later, I want to go light to build that up. And in fact, this powder really it's such a lovely powder. It doesn't make you look really heavy and cakey. It really blends into the skin nicely, absorbs any that's not a word, any sort of glow without adding a powdery appearance. Just popping on real quick that I checked my computer when I transferred over my files, and indeed it was about 9 o'clock when I put this foundation on in the beginning. So I wanted to be really accurate with that. I forgot this morning to go. I was more concerned about getting my hot cup of coffee for my next video than I was about showing you my phone and what time it was when I initially applied my foundation. Now, I did prime and set my face with powder, as you've seen in the demo, and I've worn this foundation without the primer, and I think a primer really does help keep your oils at bay, just to create that nice barrier between skin and foundation. My skin likes to eat foundation just because I have those oils that can break things up, so I would definitely recommend some sort of primer with any foundation. Now, I've been testing this foundation. In fact, I've had this in the past. I just never sat down and filmed a full dedicated review on it, but I can already tell you, we're going to check in throughout the day, but I can already tell you that this foundation wears really, really well. Now, it does give you a very demi-matte finish. So if you have very dry skin, this might not be a good option for you. I would recommend maybe mixing it with a dewier foundation so that you kind of get the best of both worlds. That's my favorite way to wear a foundation, is to mix a matte with a dewy, because it really gives you the longevity of a matte finish foundation. But the dewiness kind of gives you that skin-like appearance. So sometimes a matte foundation can be a bit much. I can't really wear an all matte foundation very well in the wintertime or in the cooler months. Because I have normal to combo skin, it can emphasize dry patches, and it can cling to things. And I have noticed that with this foundation. So if you're really dry, I would recommend adding in, maybe a very hydrating moisturizer, adding in some sort of beauty oil, or just simply mixing this and cocktailing it with something a little bit more glowy. Now, in these warmer months, I don't even need to blot with this foundation, because I find that my natural oils come through in a very good way and help balance out the more matte finish to create a very natural, almost like slightly glowy finish by the end of the day. One layer of this is definitely light medium coverage. You can build this up to medium coverage, but I tried in the demo, as you'll see, to build it up a little bit, but I don't like too heavy of a foundation anymore. I just find that it just makes me look older, and it can tend to settle into fine lines, and that'll age you more. So at best, this is a good solid medium coverage foundation. I think the finish is very smooth. It's very much like as they describe it, a demi matte, kind of like a satin matte, just very smooth, not a whole lot of glowiness, but not a flat situation either. I like the amount of coverage you can get out of this foundation without it being super thick and cake-like on your face. So I'm going to be back later this afternoon to check in, and then after that I'm going to check in finally at the end of the day to show you how this foundation wore overall. It is 2:30 in the afternoon. I'm about to go and pick up my children from school. So I thought we would do this is about the 5-hour mark. All right. I have tried my darndest not to touch my face. It's a very bad habit of mine to, like pick at things. I did sit on the phone for a bit, so I might have a little bit of wearing. Actually, I don't. I have no wearing off, so that's good. But talking on the phone, that's an everyday occurrence. I mean, if you're at work, you're going to be on the phone, especially if you have an office type job where you're on the phone a lot. I gotta tell you, my eyeshadow's still looking pretty bomb. I think I literally look exactly the same as I did definitely at noon. And definitely I think it looks exactly the same as it did when we first put it on. And this is 5 hours. So if you had put your makeup on, we're talking about lunchtime. I don't need to blot. I think if anything, my oils coming through is making this foundation look even better than initially. I do notice when I wear like matte foundations throughout a long period, I definitely do a good moisturizer that day, and I definitely need to make sure to have a primer. If I skip a good moisturizer, or if my primer is lackluster, or if I skip that, my oils come through too much and it can make it look messy too early. But this combination of what we've done here today is just wonderful. It's really looking absolutely amazing. I'm not going to wear this foundation for 24 hours, but I'm going to try to make it the full 12 until later on this evening. So we will be back to see what we're working with later. It is now 8:12 at night, and I have had this foundation on for a solid 11 hours. I was going to try to wait until 9 o'clock, 9:30, but I actually want to go and watch a Netflix show, and I can't get in my white sheets until I wash my face because I just have this thing where I have to have my face clean. This foundation still looks amazing. My eyeshadow still looks amazing. Shout out to the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette. Okay, so I've talked on the phone several times. My kids have been up in my face. I've ate lunch. I've ate dinner. This lipstick is still going strong. The foundation is still going strong. I mean, I feel like my skin still looks really good. I mean, I'm a little glowy like in here where I normally get a little bit oily. Elsa, do not knock over Mama's lights. I mean, everything still looks really good though. I don't have any actual, like on my chin there's a little bit missing, but you know when you do this throughout the course of the day and touch your face and all that kind of thing, all I can tell you, and I can show you, let's turn this down a little bit, is that indeed my face looks just as good. Like I would go out in public looking like this. I mean, if I purposely didn't blot because I mean this is all about how the foundation is lasting, but quite frankly it looks really good. I would say if you're looking to try this foundation, you're looking for something that you can get a lot of hours out of. Oily all the way down to maybe dry skin. Now if you're dry, you might want to mix it with something just because it could potentially stick to dry patches. Maybe mix it in with something else or use a hydrating primer or something. All I know is I'm looking there and I'm like, man, you still look really good. This foundation gets a 2 thumbs up from me. I definitely give it my official recommendation. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video and found it very helpful. Do you guys already own this foundation? Do you love it? Do you not like it? How do you wear it? Let's start a conversation below in the comments. It's always fun to hear, recommendations from other people on how they actually wear their foundation or cocktail or however it worked for you or didn't work for you. Don't forget to subscribe on your way out. Give this video a huge thumbs up if you enjoyed. Share it. It helps my channel grow so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for my next drugstore foundation review coming up very soon. I love you guys. Have a very blessed, wonderful day, and we'll chat soon. Bye, guys.